In today's episode, Magdalena asks, how much should our actions depend on what the numbers and indicators show us? Is there any space for what we feel works well, even after a month or two the results don't prove that? Well, that's a really good question. It is a question of instinct versus data. When do you trust your gut versus when do you rely on the data? And there have been a number of articles written about this. There's a piece in Harvard Business Review not too long ago about how up to 50% of eventual decisions in the C-suite are gut decisions, that people will have the data and they'll be data informed, but in the end, the decision is made by gut. Why is this, and is this the right way to go? Well, there is plenty of room for gut, for experience, for instinct, if you will, because what that is that's just accumulation of data at a personal level in business, where if you've got 20 years of experience in your industry, of course you're going to have a very different perspective than, say, the newest intern or coordinator who's just copying and pasting data out of spreadsheets. And so there is value in that experience. More importantly, there are conditions that you need to meet with data in order for it to be useful for making decisions. And an awful lot of the time, our data does not meet those conditions. So let's go ahead and actually bring this up here. These are the 6 conditions that data should meet. They're called the 6C framework of useful data, and your data must meet these conditions. Otherwise, it's going to fall apart, and you shouldn't make decisions on it. Number 1, is it clean? Is it prepared and free of errors? So much data is not clean. So much data is corrupted. There's all sorts of problems with it, and so clean data is the first requirement. If your data is not clean, you can't make decisions from it. The second, is your data complete, meaning there's no missing information. Anytime you load a data set, the first thing you do when you load that data set is you do exploratory data analysis, and in exploratory data analysis, the first thing you look for is missing values. Where did collection go wrong? It could be something as simple as, hey, our website was down for that day, or something as complex and issues like, well, this person didn't report the data, or they keyed it, they forgot to key it in and stuff. So is it complete? The third condition is the data comprehensive? Does it cover the question being asked? And this is a condition that we see a lot of, especially in social media marketing. We see it in finance to some degree, but does the data answer the question being asked of it? So, real simple question. Hey, what is our social media program, or what is our influencer program doing for us? And someone will put a big pile of data on the table, and they'll back the truck up, as we like to say around here, and it's all this like, here's the number of followers we have and stuff. Well, followers is a part of that answer, but it is not a comprehensive answer. It does not cover the spectrum of attribution analysis. Is only one tiny piece. So you may have a lot of data that only answers 10% of the question. And so your data has to be comprehensive. It must cover the spectrum of the answer that you're trying to get. And the bigger the question is, the more likely it is that you're going to have a very wide spectrum of what that data is. So comprehensive is very important, especially when you're talking about, are we making a decision that is data driven? Again, imagine you pulled up the app on your phone and you said, I want to drive from my house to my office, and the GPS app gave you 10% of the road, or 50% of the road, and it just stopped, didn't give you any more data after that. That's not good. You can't drive with half the map. I mean, you can, but it's not going to go very well. So your data must be comprehensive. Fourth, the data must be chosen well. This is the inverse of comprehensive, in that sometimes there's too much data. Sometimes we just pour all the data on the desk and you're like, okay, well, here's all the data we have. Well, that's not super useful. Choosing the data well means removing stuff that is irrelevant, removing stuff that is unimportant. And this is where things like, especially in attribution analysis and KPIs and metrics, we need to figure out what data actually matters. Techniques like multiple linear regression and other statistical techniques, random forest, etc., can help us figure out, these are the data points to really pay attention to. And these are the ones that, okay, we'll make sure that we have them if we need them, but they're probably not all that important. If you don't have that choice, that choosing function as part of your data preparation and loading, you're going to end up with a lot of garbage in your analysis, a lot of stuff that it's technically clean, it's technically complete, it is part of the overall universe, but it's poorly chosen. The fifth category is the data credible? Was it collected in a valid way? Did somebody miskey information? Did the person who was typing the information, were they drunk that day at work? I mean, I hope not. But credibility of data, truthfulness of data is really important. Was the data in any way manipulated? Was the sample size wrong? Was the sample pool wrong? This is especially important when you're doing things like public opinion and polls and surveys. Were the survey questions biased? If you don't have credibility in your data, there's an issue. With web analytics, think about, as much as I love Google Analytics, because it is sort of the one source of truth for a lot of what we do in the digital realm. Is it credible to use Google Analytics to answer questions for which Google Analytics is not a great measure, like in-store traffic, like that people walking around? Unless you're pushing that data into the application through third-party integrations, it is not a credible data source for offline. Right? So understanding that even great tools and highly credible data sources in one domain may not be credible in other domains. And finally, and this is one that I think is really important that we overlook, is the data calculable? Meaning, can it be worked with? Can people who are not data scientists work with the data? And that means things like reporting and stuff have to be simplified down for the layperson to use, so that they can get analysis and insights out of the data and work with it within the limits of their skills. So that's important. And your data has to meet these 6 conditions in order for you to make data-driven decisions. If these conditions are not met, or if these conditions are in some cases very badly broken, then guess what? You are better off with instinct. You are better off with experience and gut than you are with data, because you in this case, you're making a decision with incorrect data. Really good example. Say you're driving along around your house or or where you live, and the GPS is saying, go this way. Well, from experience, based on time of day, based on how people behave and stuff, that actually there's another route that maybe is 30 seconds longer on paper, but really it'll save you 5 minutes, because the route that the computer chose, data driven but incomplete, right? It doesn't know that at this time of day some monkey always parks in the middle of the road, and there's a house car, there's a yard keeping truck that's parked along the side, and traffic just gets all fouled up. And so your experience and gut, which is really just nothing more than aggregated data that you've collected in your head, overrides that. Same is true here. So there is absolutely room for what we feel works well, as long as our own data that we've collected is sound, and especially if the data that we're working with doesn't meet the 6 C's. If you don't check those boxes, yeah, absolutely switch to instinct and gut, because your data is not going to help you and it may actually harm you. So great question. This is part of the Brand 24 series, so you'll see this on the Brand 24 website as well. Thanks to them for providing these questions and the monitoring software that we use at BrainTrust Insights. As always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the newsletter, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. If you want help with your company's data and analytics, visit BrainTrustInsights.com today and let us know how we can help you.